All right. Parashat Chaya Sara. Parashat Chaya Sara. You gotta love this Torah and whoever gave those names to this parashiot, because technically or practically speaking, there's very little about the life of Sara, especially in this parasha. So I mean, maybe you should call it Mota shel Sara, the death of Sara. But why Davka Chaya Sara? Same thing, Chaya Yaakov. They call it Chaya Sara. She didn't. And even more interesting, that the parasha really starts with the fact that Sarah is already gone. So Sarah didn't even get to the parasha alive. So why do you call it Chaya Sara? There's I think it's inappropriate. You're asking me. Call it I don't know anything else but Chaya Sara. It's like almost laughing at her, Of course, you can look at things this way, but that's of course. And that every story in the Torah, everything in the Torah has a side to it, and if we don't understand, it's not because of anything, just simply because we don't understand. We didn't bother to look well enough into that. Stories upon stories, lessons upon lessons from every pasuk in the Torah that, believe me, could take you a lifetime to really understand and to live it by. The Torah is endless. Torah is endless. See, it agrees with me. The Torah is endless. It's a heavenly ping. The Torah is endless because if you really take everything that you learn there and you apply it to your life, there's more to do than there's actually life. Till you're able to learn it, to understand it, to change yourself. And maybe I'll tell you a little secret today. Today we'll take maybe a little bit more of a Kabbalistic, angle to the things. In order to understand those questions, we need to really understand to the reference that the Torah makes to the age of Sarah. It's fascinating. The pasuk says, "Ve'yu Chaya Sara," and the life of Sarah were 100 shana, 100 years, and 20 years, and 7 years. But why are you saying it like this? Why is the pasuk saying that? Say, "Ve'yu Chaya Sara, 127 shana," 127 years. The Torah says in Chaya Sara, the life of Sarah was 100, and it was 20, and it was 7. Not 27 or 127, 120 and 7. You understand my question, Bechor? You understand? It makes sense, right? Now let me ask you questions. How many times have you read this parasha and you never pay attention to it? A lot. But that's the beauty of it. Of course, the Mekubalim explained to us that age at that time, people didn't age the same way as we age. Today, people age very young. We spoke about this morning, about how much we eat food and there's no bracha in the food. We eat so much food, we have everything and we're unhealthy. Other people in past generation didn't have so much food and they were healthy. I don't know if it's the quantity, because the body still needs something to get. Nourishments, vitamins, minerals, etc. However, I think it's the bracha, the blessing that is in the food. People did not age during this time. So, there's a remez ladavar. The Gemara talks about it also. One of the statements the Gemara makes that all the women were like monkeys that compare with Sarah. Sarah at 100 years old was gorgeous like 20. She simply, I wouldn't say aged well, because she didn't age. She was beautiful. Sarah Imenu, our mama. It's beautiful. Our life. I don't know how much bracha there is in our life. We look at ourselves white and wrinkled and tired and bones. Avraham Avinu, he runs, he's 100 years old, he's no wheelchair, he's running, he's all over the place, take the cow on the mountain, down the mountain, goes up here, fights. Moshe Rabbeinu, Kadosh Baruch Hu said, go up to the mountain, and he climbs the mountain 120 years old. You saw somebody who was like 170 years old, it was like this, Look at us today, everything aches and bone and pain and hurting bones and aching bones, and Sarah was beautiful. So the Torah says, Chachamim say, she was beautiful as 20 and pure as a 7-year-old. And pure as a 7-year-old. So of course the question is why she was pure as 7 years old. Kabbalah tells us that until the age of 6, a child does not have the obligations to resist his will. Whatever he wants, he gets. Sounds like a Guns N' Roses song. You know the song? Civil War. But from the age of 7 and on, the enemy, which is really your internal self, start to tighten his grip. Whoa! Backstreet Boys are here. Where's the third party? Good to see you guys. And after the age of 7, your self-awareness starts to get a grip on you. And it doesn't let go. And it basically squeezes the life out of you. So it says that even though she was 7 years old, she was completely pure in her selflessness. And she continued to be like that past the age of 6. But past on, throughout her life, Sara Imenu was pure in terms of that. It's very hard for us to understand that, because sometimes we might actually think that Sara Imenu was cruel, chas v'shalom. She treated Hagar, in a very cruel way. She threw her out and so on and so forth. But no, Sara Imenu did not do it for herself. Sara Imenu did it for the benefit of her son and Am Yisrael. She did not do it for herself. Because you see that Sara Imenu suggested to Avraham, take her, bring an offspring from her. Sara Imenu was not selfish. Sara Imenu was selfless. It's an unbelievable woman. Unfortunately, we always talk about the avot. Listen, kvodam bimkomam nonach, their honor is undisputable. But however, we don't speak enough about the women in our lives, whether it's our matriarchs or our own women in our lives, our mothers, our wives. We take them for granted. They need to be there. They'll be there. No acknowledgement. And I think it carries on throughout. And I think we should speak about Sarah a little bit. And it's something that we need to get to know these women or these people. After all, she's our mother. And it says, okay, so now that we spoke about Sarah, let's talk about Avraham. It says that Avraham Avinu cried a little bit when Sarah departed this world, when Sarah died. He didn't cry much. He just cried a little bit anymore. Avraham Avinu was a big tzaddik. Avraham Avinu is a unique individual. Extremely unique individual. He knew that the loss of Sara, which Sara was his one and only true love. One and only true love. She was his bashert. She was his cosmic mate. Okay? Is not only the loss of a husband losing his wife, but it's a loss for a whole entire nation. It's a loss for the whole entire world. So he doesn't cry because it says, I'm not the only one mourning. Everybody's mourning and everybody's suffering because of that loss that happened to all of us. So Parashat Chaya Sara along the line is also the parasha at the end of the days of Avraham Avinu. Think about it. Think about this person, or what his contribution to humanity. And what do we have about him? 2 parashiot. It's like, I give you a break. I want some more or something. 3 parashiot. Because not even. So, just talk a little bit about him. And it's very important to understand that after that Avraham Avinu died, we don't hear about Avraham Avinu. He buys the kever, he speaks to Eliezer, and then we hear that he died. We don't hear about Avraham Avinu again. And the end of his life, the end of Avraham Avinu's life, starts with the death of Sara Imenu. This is just an introduction. And only after Sara Imenu died and she's buried, only then it says, V'Avraham Zaken Baba Yamim. Only then. So the Midrash, of course, asks, and he asks appropriately, what? Avraham Avinu wasn't old beforehand. Now all of a sudden, after Sarah died, Avraham Avinu became old. He was old. He was 100 years old already. So he was young. He was a lad. So the Midrash says something which is so deep. It's so deep. It's so unbelievable. And it may be you'll be able to understand what is true love. The Midrash says the following: Ein ish met ela leishto. When a person dies to his wife. Ve'en isha meta ela lebaala. When a wife dies, she dies with so-called her husband. In other words, as soon as Sarah died, Avraham became old. And I've seen it many times. Seen it many times with people that had tremendous love and they died. My wife's grandparents, they loved each other. They loved each other. As soon as the wife died, my wife's grandmother died, 8 months later, the guy just simply died. He was okay. He simply died. Happens many times. So Avraham became old when Sarah died. By the way, these are the last words of my grandfather. My mother's father, his name was Avraham also. I was lucky. Both my grandparents' name Avraham, so they didn't have to fight. I told you I have smart parents. My grandfather, before he died, he asked my aunt to give him candy. He says, Bracha she'akol niya bidvaro. He finished that. It was Mentos. He finished that. He liked mints. And he says, then he fell asleep. He woke up. He said to her, V'Avraham zaken ba bayamim, V'Hashem berach et Avraham bakol. Then Avraham is an old man, and Hashem blessed Avraham with everything. He closed his eyes and never woke up. I think it's a pretty good way to die. But the acknowledgement of a person before he died, and my grandfather had a very difficult life. Very difficult life. To reach the end of your days, the last breath that you take on the earth, to say that everything that happened through your life you were blessed, it's a level, it's a madrega that I can only wish on myself. I complain all the time. He was different. That's why the generation is becoming less and less. They were better. In this parasha, when we say goodbye to Sarah and Avraham Avinu, so that's what the parasha talks about and so on. But we also have a tremendous lesson to learn It's going to be a little later than the other time, but it's very important that we listen. We have a tremendous lesson on Midat HaNetzach, Midat HaChesed, Midat HaChesed, which Avraham Avinu engraved into this world, and in each and every one of us. Avraham and Sara were people of actions. They didn't just talk, they did. Don't fall what I tell the guys like into the Napoleon syndrome. What's the Napoleon syndrome? Promises everything and does nothing. Like Napoleon. I give you everything. There are many people like this. Avraham Avinu and Sara Imenu weren't like this. They were busy doing action all the time. They were doing action all the time. Avraham used to work with the men, used to convert the men, used to give lectures to the men. Sara Imenu used to do the same thing to the women. Says the Netivot Shalom, says that the whole inyan of this parashiot of Avraham Avinu, those 2.25 parashiot that we're talking about Avraham Avinu, to teach us how through the chesed that Avraham Avinu did, tikkun ha'olam, fixing the world that started the blemish from Adam HaRishon, from Adam and Eve, and continued all the way to Noach and on, how Avraham Avinu was the one through the chesed that he did actually start fixing up the world. It's to teach us because we need it. The Gemara says the following: if you want to know how to be saved from the time of Mashiach, because when Mashiach comes, it's not going to be, he's coming out of 770 wearing a frock and a borsalino. It's not going to be like that. There's going to be a turmoil in the world. The Gemara says, how are you going to be saved from those days? 2 things. Torah, Gemilut Chasadim. Torah, Gemilut Chasadim. So Avraham Avinu, they did that. As it says in Tehillim, Ki amarti olam chesed yibaneh. In Tehillim, Psalms, Peitet. How much is Peitet?
89.
Very nice. Area 89. Which famous Tehillim comes after 89? 90. Very good. You see, these guys are geniuses. So it says, Olam chesed yibaneh. We need to understand that not only that Midat HaChesed is the tikkun ha'olam, fixing the world, but rather more than that, it is what you need to fix yourself. When you coming to change yourself, the first thing you need to be engaged in is Midat HaChesed, to others and Chesed to yourself. The biggest Chesed you can do to yourself is, we said, Gemilut Chasadim and Talmud Torah. The biggest Chesed you could do to yourself is come to learn. I taught you now a big secret. Guys, I'll take donations on the air. No, it's very simple. And it's very important. And it says on the Pasuk, on Tehillim, which one Tehillim? No? No. 52. Ben, Nachon, very good. Very good. On the Pasuk that says over there, Chesed El Kol Hayom, the Rav from Kurbin says that every single day a Jew is obligated to do Ma'aseh Chesed. He's obligated to do an action of Chesed. You are obligated to do. What Chesed have you done today? Ma'aseh Chesed Kol Hayom. That a person, he continues and says, Shelo ya'avor alav afilu yom echad, that should not pass even one day without Chesed. And any day that he did not do Chesed is not considered to be a day of your life. Chesed could be a small act. Yes, you have a friend, there's a pain in the neck. Doesn't stop. But you're the only one he can talk to. So you stand next to him for 10, 15 minutes and you listen to him and you answer him nicely and kindly, and you let them feel like a human being. You did a chesed that day. In other words, you earned your right to live today. If you don't do chesed, you don't have a right to live. You need to earn the right to live. You don't get it because of your good eyes or your great looks. None of you have it. Me, on the other hand. You have to earn it every single day. לפחות דבר חסד ביום. How could you call yourself a son of Avraham Avinu if you didn't do one act of kindness a day? An act of kindness could be opening a door for someone, letting somebody pass through, little things. Doesn't have to be much. But to be a day without chesed, for a Jew, impossible. One needs to really look at himself. I haven't done chesed today. What happened to my Jewish image? You teach somebody halakha, woo, big chesed, big chesed. You cheer somebody else, you save them, it's a tremendous chesed. He's depressed. So don't worry, it's going to be okay, I'll help you, you're not alone. He finally breathes. You saved them today. Tremendous chesed. What did it take from you to do chesed? Nothing. Nothing. And why would you do it? It's free. And he says, more than that, the Shla says that the Shefa Elyon, the abundance that comes from above, is being determined by Midat HaChesed. You want chesed, you want shefa. Shefa, bracha, ve'atzlacha. Shefa, right? You want shefa? Hey, no problem. Do chesed, shefa will come. You don't have to ask, it'll come. How much bracha you get into your actions in your day depends on how much chesed you do. Bar minan, chas v'shalom to think. Chas v'shalom to think that not only if you do chesed, don't do chesed. If chas v'shalom, you're actually hurting people. Chesed, bringing two people together. The opposite, breaking people apart. That would restrict all the flow of abundance, and you going to be poor. And shefa. And I'll show you, Bezat Hashem, how you do chesed, how you determine if that's a true act of chesed or not. So he said, "She'al yedei sheYehudi osek bechesed." By when the Jew does chesed, hareu mamshich chesed min hashamayim. He continues this chesed to come to this world. V'kol yom vayom yimei chayav, and every single day from the day of his life. The Shla says, "Yireh haYehudi lasot chesed im chavero begufo b'mamono u'benafsho." You have to do chesed with your friend, whether it's with your money, whether with your neshama, you have to help him, whether with his body, you have to do chesed. Why? For example, lelamdo eze inyan, teach him something, or lechasko be'eze davar. He's feeling a little shvach. He's not feeling good today. It's a rough day. Help him, strengthen him, don't leave him alone. Because that he's doing chesed, mashpi'im alav chesed min hashamayim. They're going to have chesed with you from above. When midat adin, chas v'shalom, comes to the world, and it is not able to be distinguishing between tzaddik and rasha, the only way to soften the midat adin is by chesed. You want to be saved? Do chesed. The wine and the water. Water is chesed, wine is din. You need to be careful, especially in those days, especially now. More so than ever before, you must do chesed. Community that is not involved in doing chesed would not be able to survive. A person that is not doing chesed would not be able to survive. Bringing a guy to shul that doesn't daven is a tremendous chesed. Being mechazek a person is chesed. Giving tzedakah to a person is chesed. Giving parnasah for somebody is chesed. Making shidduch. There's endless ways of chesed that we could do. And we don't always do that. And of course, levels of chesed. We're going to be a little bit late today, if you don't mind.
No problem. My pleasure.
So he says the following. What is, when we say to do chesed, how do you actually do chesed? There are different levels and so on and so forth. A person needs to ask himself, what prevents him from doing chesed? First of all, why did I do chesed? Most likely is your selfishness. You are selfish or self-importance. I don't have time for this. Let somebody else do it. I don't want this. Let somebody else. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol nהיה bidbaro. Amen. And when you do chesed, the highest level of chesed is called hashpa'a gemura, complete influence. What prevents you from doing such a thing? The Torah says, Chachamim say, that the peak of midat chesed is to make sure to bring a person to appropriate burial. And that's called chesed im hametim. You do chesed with the met. We see it a little bit in this parasha when Avraham Avinu insists, for many reasons, but that's one of them, insists to pay money for the burial site of Sara Imenu because it's more respectful. Chesed with the dead people is the ultimate level of chesed because they can never thank you. You're doing so because it needs to be done. However, don't think that you are so good that you're working with the dead people. You're going to roll carpets in the next world for you. You're doing it because it needs to be done. Chesed with the met is a big chesed. The Chachamim call this given without receiving. And that's called chesed shel emet, truthful chesed. I'm doing it because I need to do it. So in the introduction to Sefer HaZohar, he says that we reach this highest level of receiving. The only way I'm receiving is in order for me to be mashpia only after Tchiyat HaMetim, after the resurrection of the dead. Why? Because always in the person there is something of selfish aspect in him that you cannot completely dismiss. Even if a person works very hard with does chesed, still inside of him, he has a little bit of a satisfaction. He feels good. That you can't erase, because as long as you're alive, you can't erase this. You only after Tchiyat HaMetim you'll be able to do so. And you should know that when a person is being buried, the burial actually allows him to diminish this aspect, even if it was a speck of selfishness. Burial gets rid of that. Why? Because that is what we call the part in an neshama that represents a need. Need, whatever you want to call this. Ego, superego, let's not get into this. However, I need to take care of myself. I can't do this forever. I can't do everything for free. I need a place to live, I need a place to eat, I need a car to drive, I need to worry about myself. I mean, you must have it so you can survive. If you don't do so, you'll die. Burial gets rid of this completely. So, that's only after Tchiyat HaMetim you'll be able to get up without this completely. Then you're going to receive all the halakim of your neshama. And there are levels on your neshama that you progress to and you reveal them. Your neshama is there. You have the nefesh, the ruach, the neshama, the yechidah, the chaya, and so on. It's all your soul. It's not been revealed yet because you haven't revealed it. After your tchiyat hamitim, you're going to resurrect with the full spectrum of your neshama. And all the levels. And by doing so, you'll be able to mashpia. And that is the tikkun of the world, not only tikkun prati, selfish for you, the tikkun of the whole entire world. So when HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to resurrect all the dead, with that blemish that they had, that goof, that blemish, and we're not talking about the physical, we're talking about, spiritual, we're talking about the physical body, they wanted all the nonsense. That's the body he's going to resurrect. But then, when a person is going to be resurrected, he's going to have all the parts of his neshama revealed, and then he can use this body to actually build and to do positive actions than not. Today, since most of us haven't revealed yet all the parts of the neshama, we simply tip the scale that the physical body takes over rather than a spiritual body. Our job is to do so. Very few people reach all the way up. It doesn't mean you should stop because you don't know where you're going to go. So, we said that in order to reach a level of complete balance and complete ability to influence, you need to be buried. Not so. Yitzchak was able to do so without burial. Yitzchak was able to do so without burial. How did he do so? Because we say Yitzchak Avinu died and he didn't die. On the Mizbeach, he died and didn't die. By him doing what he did, he diminished and extinguished and destroyed and canceled all his natural human needs. Our first need is to survive. We want to live. Not that he wanted to die. He says, if that needs to be done, that's what needs to be done. He did everything he can in his power in order to make this process of the Akedah successful. He was willingly put himself on the Mizbeach. He didn't fight. He wanted shchita kshera. He says, Abba, please, can you check the knife? Holacha ve'ovah. I want it to be appropriate. He was in a state of a complete annihilation of his reality. Complete. And if a person is able to annihilate and to completely cancel his reality, means he's not in this world anymore. He's dead. When we die, and we're all going to die, a lot of things will die with us. Some things will die again. For example, all the relatives that you have in your mind, they're already dead, and only you remember. When you die, they die with you again because they're gone from this world. All your memories, all your feelings, all your emotions, everything that you call my reality is dead with you. If you're able to do so while you're alive, you'll be considered to be dead. Yitzchak Avinu did that. Yitzchak Avinu did that, so he considered to be died. So when Yitzchak Avinu, by doing so, there was a process of dying and resurrection. Dying and resurrection. So when he did that, he was able to be mashpia, to influence, and to do things on a different scale that any other human being could not have done. In other words, mesirut nefesh, what we call mesirut nefesh is in regular translation would be complete dedication. However, in this case, it literally means limsor is to hand over. Nefesh is your soul. And usually nefesh refers to the nefesh be'emit, the part inside of you that wants to eat, to multiply, to have fun, and the engine that gets you going. Mesirut, he hand over his artziyut, his earthy existence. Mesirut, he handed it over. So when a person is moser nefesh, a person teaches Torah, sacrifices, he gives up. We call it, with this tremendous dedication, mesirut nefesh. In other words, he canceled his natural inclination to strive for power, honor, comfort, money, you name it, for what he feels he needs to do. That's called mesirut nefesh. When the mother is tired and the baby cries at night and she gets up so the husband won't get up, that's called mesirut nefesh. That's why mothers are better than fathers many times in terms of that. We need to learn it. For women, it's natural. There are certain aspects that women are superior to men, by all means. Superior. They have it. We need to learn it. We're very selfish. And ultimately, that selfishness strives from one place, from weakness. Selfish people are usually weak people. Now, actually, we might finish it. I think so, on time. Who cares? Sara Imenu learned that trick from Yitzchak. There are many different pirushim for the reason of Sarah died, or for the reason she died, and especially why she died during this time. But based on what we said earlier, just now, we can learn that Sarai Menu, in her greatness, saw and understood what Yitzchak Avinu did, and she understood that you can cancel and dismiss your reality in such a way. Not to say that Rachel Imenu committed suicide, Chaz v'Shalom to say, but because of her tremendous dedication to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, her neshama left the body. And there are cases, of course, famous one is Moshe Rabbeinu, that through tremendous dedication to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, your neshama merges. It's called Mavet Neshika. Like kissing, hashik is not only to kiss, is to merge. Hashaka is we take two bodies and we merge them into one. The same thing when we kiss. Neshika is merging. That's why according to Kabbalah, a kiss between a husband and wife have tremendous mystical aspects to it that if we only knew, we would not waste it on desire. Tremendous mystical things. And they say the French invented the kiss. Let me tell you, we did. Seriously. Now, Moshe Rabbeinu also, he dwelled into such a deep meditative state that his neshama left the body and attached itself with such momentum to its source that it was impossible for it to come down. It could happen to you when you enter deep meditative states. Most people don't know what Bichlal I'm talking about. But there is such a state. The death of Moshe Rabbeinu, Malach HaMavet could not have taken him. Moshe Rabbeinu, the only way for him to die is to do it this way. There are times that the person doesn't want to live in this world anymore, not because he wants to commit suicide, because he's yearning so much to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Where's the Rebbe? Rebbe, Hasidic story for you. So there are places when a person is such davek that he wants to live the world. Famous story, it was on the Rav Menachem from Zlushten. On Seudah Shlishit of Shabbat, when he used to do Suda Shlishit, you know that at Suda Shlishit, the Kedusha it's in its peak. How should I say it to you? Don't waste your Suda Shlishit on idle talking and drinking. If you don't sing all Shabbat long, I'll tell you the following. Don't have lectures. By the way, I'm going to have to tell you this. Don't expect the shuls to provide you and entertain you with learning and so on. That's your obligation to learn. You want to learn? Get the chavrudah, sit down and learn. The shul should not provide you with that. You want to learn? Sit down and learn. Because when you are expecting that, you're asking for no more than entertainment venue. And Suda Shlishit is the same thing. Suda Shlishit, Rabotai. You want to say one Devar Torah? 5 minutes. I've been in tables of great people. 5 minutes Devar Torah. 5 minutes Devar Torah. The whole entire thing, I tell you. If you want to really feel itlahavut, what I'm talking about, I'm feeling like my body is lifting now. Go to Hasidim, real Hasidim, not those real Hasidim, during Suda Shlishit. You don't want Shabbat to end. And the singing comes from the heart, and they bang on the table, and they happy, and they get into a trance just by singing, because they feel the Kedusha. They don't know vodka on the table, no whiskey on the table. They have coleslaw, bread, herring, some pickles, and the singing. If you would only feel that, you know what I'm talking about. I'm feeling like, I feel now, like I know what it is. You should turn the tables over in Suda Shlishit. Said rabbis, you want to teach us before or after, but now Suda Shlishit, the Kedusha is in his peak. You should be in a different world. You should be in a trance. And ככה, שמחה גדולה, בשמחה גדולה. Not like the Nebuchs over there. It's not a Jewish bar here. Suda Shlishit. Whether you do it at home, or whether you do it in your shul. They should hear you through this concrete walls in this bunker that we had. They should hear you all the way out. That's how you should be. Nobody talks, nothing. You go home, you are charged for the next, you're ready for the week. No lectures, this lecture, that lecture, this lecture, what are we in the parliament? So they say about this Rav Menachem Mizlushtin that in Suda Shlishit Shabbat he used to reach such high levels of Kedusha that they needed somebody to watch him over. Why? Because if he would reach such a high level of Kedusha, he might simply disappear from this world. Your neshama would leave you. Your neshama doesn't want to stay in this body of yours. You bribe your neshama. You destroy it. You tint it. Your neshama wants to go back to its pure place. So he would reach they would put a guard on him to calm him down. Now, so one time there was an incident that the person who watched him, he heard some noise outside, somebody. So he went outside. When he came back, he saw that the rabbi is already saying Shema Yisrael, and his neshama was left. You don't understand what a level of spirituality this thing is. It's unbelievable. So Sara Imenu learned the secret from Yitzchak. So when he was slaughtered, he wasn't slaughtered. And there is such a thing. When she did this dveikut, her neshama left the body, and it didn't work. Mishamayim, they put it back into the body. Mishamayim, they put it back. Yitzchak Avinu, according to Midrash, was 3 years on the mountain. Yitzchak Avinu, after that, entered such a state of awareness, he stayed 3 years on the mountain. And that's why it says, when Avraham Avinu returned to his boys, he didn't say Avraham and Yitzchak. Yitzchak stayed there. Chazal says, and that's back to us now. Chazal says, Kol ha-negaim, a person can measure all the blemishes, chutz minigei atzmo. Besides blemishes that happen to you. Let's say, for example, a person has tzarat, lo alenu, he can identify tzarat by everybody. He's expert on tzarat. Chaz v'shlom, he gets tzarat, you can give your opinion on your tzarat. Ro'eh adam kol negaim, chutz minigei atzmo. We don't see our own hump. We don't see our own faults. We always see somebody else's hump. We see somebody else's problems. Or we think we see. I don't like these people who always complain about other people. They never do anything wrong. They always do the right thing. Always. Me? I never did anything wrong. This guy's place, and he's bad, and he's bad. And those people, the experience, never say good thing about somebody else, and never say bad thing about yourself. There are plenty of people like that. So you got to be careful. Maybe you need glasses. Maybe you don't see well. Many times we see a small little detail by a person, especially, and right away, we already judged him. Shofet kol haaretz we became. The judge of the land. By the way, hang him, string him up. Many times we need to understand we don't see anything, and we don't understand anything, and we don't grasp it appropriately. It's all one big mishka bubble. It's all an illusion. It's a mirage. Our senses, everything that goes through us is all based on what we were conditioned by our senses. For example, if I'll take a hot pepper and I give it to a person who never tasted hot pepper in his life, he's going to cry. The person ate, oh, that's actually good, that's good. So you're going to say it's good. How about guys eating a dog? Anybody wants to eat a dog? Huh? No, dog is very good. Not that I ate. I don't like meat to begin with. Leave it, it's not kosher. In China, they love dog. Dog is great. They raise dogs as much as we raise cattle. They raise dogs. For them, dogs is good. Tastes sweet. Like chicken and raisins, they say. Everything tastes like chicken. Everything besides chicken. Chicken tastes like plastic, but everything tastes like chicken, you know. But he says sweet. They don't have this attachment to animals like we do. So it's all conditional. It's how we're conditioned. And on that, we have to understand that everything that we see is based on which level, we're almost finished, at which level we are in our lives. You could experience something, I can experience something, and the same thing. And our experience and the interpretation of what we experience will be completely different. It's based on the level that we're at. Rav Dessler says the following: Mi shenimtza b'madregat tachtona, he who is on a low level, eino yachol le'asig dvarim hashayachim lemadrega gdola. You can understand and appropriately analyze things that belong to a higher level. You can't. You're not in this level. You don't have those tools. כי דברים אלו מושגים רק באותה מדרגה. You can only understand that when you reach to that level. ובמדרגה נמוכה יותר ממנה, אי אפשר לעמוד על מיתותם. You're never going to get to the truth or to the bottom of things because it's above your pay grade. You don't understand that. And we need to understand that the only thing that stays open at all levels is chesed. So we cannot judge anybody. And we sometimes need to understand that we can't understand everything. And we need to understand the Sara Imenu, our mother. The same thing as death. Lefi Kabbalah, death is not the end. It's just a continuing process. You're moving from one stage to another. You open a door, you close the door. It's just a continuation. Sara Imenu did her spiritual work every single day. She did what she came to this world. She left life with meaning. Let me ask you a question. Hey, you know what's the question, right? What would you rather do? Have a job that pays very little, let's say $30,000, and it's $20,000, and it's meaningful for you, or you'll do a job that it's meaningless to you for $300,000. I'm sure most of us will pick the $300,000 job. You say, I'll find meaning in that. But I'm going to tell you that don't come complain to me when your life is meaningless. Don't ever come to me asking for meaning when you made that choice. Because you should have said, it has nothing to do with the money. It has to do with my duty and my meaning in what I do. You have to understand that it's not the money that you have. It's the bracha that comes in your money. How much shefa, abundance, comes from above into that. You have to remember that. Sara Imenu did that. Sara Imenu did this, and together with Avraham Avinu, they brought more and more people to the light. How did they bring them to the light? By working on themselves. They brought them to love, to happiness, to compassion. The light that Sara Imenu created in her life was able to influence our whole entire nation, us, to the fact that Jews are known for the great act of chesed beyond and above and beyond any other nation in the world. Any other nation in the world. And it's all because of Sara Imenu. That teaches us that when you live life, when you live your life, you have to think at every moment, everything that you do has a hashpah, has influence in the olam, in the spiritual world, and for future generations. Because if you mess it up today, you don't know what would you create, what ripple effect would your actions have to your future generations for 100 generations from now. And on the other hand, of course, if you do something good, you don't know what ripple effect your good actions would have. And you need to remember that they do have an action. They do have a ripple effect. To the end of time. You see, Sara Imenu was 4,000 years ago. Still influencing us, and it's multiplying more and more. This is all b'schut Sara Imenu. And if you look at Avraham Avinu, there's a midrash that says, to think about that, I don't like midrashim, but there's a midrash that says that Sara Imenu was mibnei Shem. Hagar was Egyptian. She was Cham. And Keturah was from Yefet. In other words, Avraham Avinu influenced the whole entire world through his actions in terms of that. Sara Imenu brought chayut, lifehood, in her whole entire life, which was 127 years. That light, I'll show you now, we finish, that light gave light to future generations as well. According to Kabbalah, Sara Imenu, I would say reincarnated or was able to be present in Esther HaMalka as well. How? Remez ladavar. By the 127 years that Sara Imenu lived her life to the way she should live her life, to its full meaningful potential, Esther Malka was able to rule over 127 countries, Mihodu ve'ad Kush. We could only hope that we will have the chokhmah inside of us to want to connect to this light that these great people had left behind us. With their death, they commended life to us. And next time that you're going to have so-called a difficulty in your life, accept it with love. Accept it with meaning. Turn the darkness into light. And before you know, Hanukkah is around the corner. Shabbat Shalom.